I mean, if that's what the iPhone 11 ends up looking like, sign me up. Take my money. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, BMAC. And if you're new to this channel, thanks for stopping by. We upload daily videos about filmmaking, photography, tech, and lifestyle, so if those topics interest you, please don't forget to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you never miss another video on this channel. And today, I know, we are still many months away from the official Apple 2019 iPhone lineup, but naturally, that's not gonna stop any of us from wondering what the new iPhones are actually gonna look like and what they're gonna do. We don't even know what the 2019 Apple iPhones are gonna be called yet. I just think they're gonna be called the iPhone 11s, so that's what I'm rolling with. But regardless, whatever we end up calling it, one of the features I always pay attention to in the new iPhone models is the camera. We already have a ton of iPhone 11 camera rumors that I think need to be addressed. But what better way to geek out on iPhone 11 camera rumors than to talk about them in a YouTube video? So let's get right to it. Let's just get right into the rumors. The first rumor, iPhone almost fell off the table. That wouldn't have been good. We're getting 3 rear-facing cameras on the iPhone 11. It's no secret that in recent years, Apple's been spending a lot of time and focus on the actual camera in their iPhone. And ever since we got that second rear-facing camera since the iPhone 7 Plus, the rear-facing camera system has been improved upon and basically loved ever since. So a third rear-facing camera on the iPhone 11 probably wouldn't be that surprising, especially considering recent smartphone releases have at least like 4 cameras total. If you ask me, I think it's very likely we're gonna get a third rear-facing camera on the iPhone 11. I mean, pretty much any site you go to, any rumor you look at mentions this, which brings us to iPhone 11 camera rumor number 2. What exactly would that third rear-facing camera do? Well, one idea when it comes to that third rear-facing camera is that we will actually get another telephoto lens, which would mean we would then have a 3x telephoto lens, a 2x telephoto lens, and then of course our 1x wide-angle lens. But the only thing where this doesn't make much sense is that a 3x telephoto lens wouldn't help out portrait mode a whole lot. When we're using portrait mode on the current iPhones, basically you're using the 2x telephoto lens to actually create the fake blurry background. If you add a 3x focal length into the mix, that's just too zoomed in, if you will, to actually be able to use that in a portrait mode setting. And the current telephoto lens already digitally zooms to 10 times. So the rumors saying that we're gonna get a 3x telephoto lens in replace of the 2x telephoto lens, I don't believe those. I think we're still gonna have that 2x telephoto lens, but then again, there's also the possibility that we're gonna get the complete opposite of that, where we're not gonna get a 3x telephoto lens and instead get a super wide angle lens. I personally find myself wanting to actually crop into my photos more than I wish I could zoom out, so I don't really know if there's a huge need for a super wide angle lens on the rear part of the actual iPhone. Perhaps on the front, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But then there's that rumor that on the back of the iPhone 11, that third camera we're getting might not be an RGB camera at all, and instead is going to be some kind of 3D camera. A camera that will make augmented reality and depth mapping that much more efficient. Similar to the true depth camera system we currently have on the iPhone. I hate to admit it, but I think that kind of 3D camera would make the most sense on the back of the iPhone 11, as opposed to either a super wide angle lens or a super telephoto lens. We do know that Apple's been making a pretty big deal out of augmented reality, as we've seen from their last couple of keynotes. Personally, I think I would get more use out of a 3x telephoto lens because, like I said before, I find myself cropping into my photos more often than not. And even though I think augmented reality and portrait mode shots are cool, I personally don't have a huge need for them. So I don't really care which one Apple chooses. I'd make the best of either situation, but I do wish that we would get higher megapixel cameras, perhaps even a wider aperture on both lenses, and if I'm being super greedy, maybe even a larger sensor for your actual images and video. But now that we got those 2 rumors out of the way, here's where things get a little bit dicey in my eyes. There are several rumors about where this 3-camera rear-facing camera system is actually gonna go on the back of the iPhone 11. And as most of the rumors suggest right now, it seems like the camera system is gonna remain in the top left part of the iPhone 11 back, but this time with a protruding block, if you will, which to be honest, completely breaks my heart. When it comes to the latest iPhones, I personally cannot stand the protruding lens setup. You know, people ask me from time to time what my favorite iPhone design of all time is, you know, excluding the most recent one. And time again, I find myself going back to the iPhone 5. If you remember correctly, the iPhone 5 was the last iPhone with a flush camera backing. And something about having the camera flush with the back of the device just made it seem polished, professional, to be honest, finished. It felt like a finished product. The iPhone 5 was also the last project that Steve Jobs passionately worked on, so take that information and do with it what you will. But now it seems like Apple seriously does not care about the fact that part of their phone is protruding from the rest of it. Meanwhile, I'm just here sitting looking at it and being like, Apple, no. Listen, I get it. We want thin phones. But look at this thing. This thing is thin enough as it is. Now, I'm not suggesting we get a thicker iPhone necessarily, although if it came down to it, I would not mind a slightly thicker iPhone if we could just get that lens system flush against the back of the phone itself. If that meant a little bit of a thicker phone, I'd take that, but I'm not necessarily suggesting that. If in the iPhone 11, if we keep the thickness of the current iPhone XS and figure out a way just to, push that lens into the body, make it flush, then I'd be super happy. In other words, ideally, don't necessarily make the iPhone 11 thinner, keep the thickness as it currently is, but just figure out a way to make that camera, flush with everything. If you can do that, Apple, I would not complain. But the recent renders of the iPhone 11, the rumors, the leaks, whatever you want to call them, all of them pretty much do show a protruding lens kind of system, and in all honesty, it just looks ugly. Unless you consider the Cyclops looking render of the iPhone 11 with the camera system pretty much in the smack dab middle of the back of the iPhone 11. That render looks pretty cool. I could live with that, but I don't think that's likely. I think Apple's going to keep it in the top left-hand corner. Now listen, I know there's an argument here to have the iPhone as thin as possible because you're going to be throwing a case on this thing anyway, in which case you would want the iPhone as thin as possible so the case doesn't add unnecessary bulkiness to your phone. I understand that. I like to live on the dangerous side. I don't have a case on this thing. I have never put a case on this thing since the day I got it. Super risky, I know, but I'm also super careful with it, so it's not a problem. But even then, I would still argue we should have a slightly thicker phone or even the same thickness phone as the iPhone XS, but just make that camera system flush. Placing this phone on the table and then having the thing wobble like that because, it's clearly off balance, to me, that seems like an unfinished product. That doesn't seem too professional. So Apple, do whatever you want to do. I don't care how many lenses we have in the back. I don't care where you put them. My number one request is that we just have that thing flush. Just my 2 cents. I've actually been rage tweeting about this on my Twitter the last few weeks. Follow me on Twitter at BMAC if you want to see my tweets regarding this matter and join in on the fun. But enough talking about that. My blood pressure's climbing as it is. Let's move on to rumor number 4, which is that we will be getting a super wide angle camera. It's just not gonna be on the back of the iPhone 11, it's gonna be on the front. Now, I gotta be honest here. I don't think I would ever fully switch over to an Android phone. I just couldn't do it. But some of those Android devices, specifically the Google Pixel 3, those things have some pretty impressive cameras. In fact, my buddy Nikias from the channel Apple World specifically told me that he brings along his Google Pixel 3 with him even when he's using his iPhone as his main camera because he's super impressed by the cameras on the Pixel 3. Yo, Apple. Listen up, that's saying something. And so I think a super wide angle lens on the front of the iPhone 11 would be freaking awesome, to be honest. You'd get those super wide angle selfies, you can see the environment around you, it's not super zoomed in. I can't tell you how many times I've opened up the camera and been like, whoa! Way too zoomed in. And I know the more technology you add to the front of the iPhone, the more likely it is that the notch is going to be there to stay. But why do we have the notch to begin with? I mean, would it be so bad to have like a ski cap on the top of your iPhone 11? That's what I'm gonna call it, a ski cap, because it's gonna be like rounded across the top. A bezel. We'd have a bezel on the top, and is a bezel that bad? Personally, one of the things I fell in love with about the iPhone 10 were those rounded corners we got on that new OLED display, which look even more beautiful on the iPhone XS Max. And I know Apple likes to keep the phone symmetrical, where we have the same amount of bezels on all 4 sides of the screen. I get that. But why don't we add a little bit more technology to the front with something like a super wide angle lens and just, cut off those little ears right there. Take away the notch and just round the corner and have a very small bezel. I mean, that's not that big of a bezel considering. So even if we were to take out those top ears and just round it out and have that bezel on the top, I still think that would look pretty good, and I'd take that if it meant being able to have a super wide angle lens on the front of the iPhone 11. I mean, once you free up that space up there anyway, you're gonna have that much more wiggle room to do that much more with a front-facing camera system. That would be so sexy. I would buy it in an instant. But anyway, back to the rumor. Will we get a super wide angle lens on the front of the iPhone 11? I think it's pretty likely considering how well adopted those have been in other competitor smartphones. That would also mean the third rear-facing camera we get on the back of the iPhone 11 probably wouldn't be a super wide angle and would be either that 3D camera or that 3x telephoto lens. And in that case, things are starting to make sense. A new super wide angle lens on the front of the device, whether that's alone or in addition to the current camera, and then that third 3D or 3x telephoto lens on the back. You put all those things together, things are starting to shape up to be a pretty impressive iPhone 11 front and rear facing camera system. The rumors are a dime a dozen. Feels like there's a new iPhone 11 rumor coming out every single day. What rumors have you guys heard? Is there a rumor you love? Is there a rumor you hate? Please do me a huge favor and comment down below your thoughts on the iPhone 11 camera rumors. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say about these rumors. And as always, I'll be liking, hearting, and replying to some of my favorites. Thank you so much for watching. Smash that thumbs up button and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And in the meantime, I'm gonna see what other iPhone 11 camera rumors have popped up. I guarantee you, one has popped up since the start of this video. That's how often these things are coming out. I will see you guys in my next video. Oh, we have a new one. Apparently we're not gonna have a third camera on the back of the iPhone 11 at all. Instead, we're gonna have a holographic projector, so your FaceTime sessions could actually be that much more realistic. Just kidding, I made that one up. But, you know, give it 10 years.